Hi there, my name is Kimmo Kortti and I'm going to give you a short presentation of the positive organization and positive leadership. I'll share a short presentation with you, and you can follow this presentation. So very briefly, today's introduction is about positive leadership and positive organization. What kind of benefits positive leadership and positive organization have, and what is also the scientific background of the idea of positive organization and positive leadership. The scientific background being called PRIDE theory, with PRIDE as the letter standing for different parts of positive organization. So, as I said very briefly, what is positive leadership? What is positive organization? Why is positive leadership and positive organization essentially important or useful? And then laying some foundational ideas about how to develop positive organization and how to develop positive leadership. Very briefly about my colleague, Sanna Wenström, who we could say has been a major person behind developing the positive leadership and positive organization theory. Sanna works as a senior lecturer at the Oulu University of Applied Sciences School of Professional Teacher Education, and she's also an entrepreneur. Sanna has done her PhD actually on this area, and her doctoral research was on positive leadership. The PhD work of Sanna also exists in English, and we currently have one article as well, which is in English. Sanna's published also a book on positive leadership, which is in Finnish, and there is another book actually coming out in the spring 2022. Positive organization is really a well and thoroughly researched area. So we're not talking about a let's say a fad or some kind of an add-on idea, but we're talking about an area which is well researched and which is connected to things like enthusiasm and thriving at work, and how they can be enhanced and developed and supported by positive leadership and positive organization. And there's a fairly recent publication here from we could say the initiator of the Thriving at Work and Work Engagement by Schaufley from 2020. If you're interested, thriving at work is one of the central concepts and central things behind positive organization and positive leadership, and we could talk about something like a positive change, energy, your positive force, which is something that we need and that we want to develop in our working life and in our work environment. And thriving at work, we can divide that roughly, for instance, into two areas. Which one area being the individual's own level and own context, and then the context of the entire organization. You can check out the list of things that we have collected here. Once again, you can find more about these from a number of scientific research papers. Of course, we're at the moment in the world. We're at the very special time with the COVID pandemic all around, and a lot of people ask, of course, I mean, why should we focus on positive organization or positive leadership right at this point? There's so much going on anyway that adopting something like this is maybe too much. Maybe we'll focus on that later. Well, actually, we would argue that the opposite is true. That exactly at this point, the ideas behind a positive organization and positive leadership should be adapted, because it has been shown, and that a positive organization and positive leadership in fact enhance and develop the kind of qualities and abilities that people need in their working life, precisely to be able to cope with change and with challenging situations. I mean, the point behind, or the idea behind positive leadership, of course, is the humanistic idea, the humanistic philosophy, and the so-called humanistic Menschenbild, which is German concept mostly used, and the humanistic values. And even before the COVID times, the idea of the human revolution of work life has become more popular. In the humanistic tradition, of course, it's very important to remember that a certain value basis there is extremely important, and the focus also on individuals and individuals' abilities and skills, and in the individual's potential possibility to use their strengths, and that way enhance, in fact, a lot of areas, things that are totally measurable also with numbers and figures, like productivity, for instance. And this is what makes positive leadership and positive organization so interesting. Let's go through the areas of positive organization quite quickly at this point. We can then later on, if we're having meetings and workshops and sessions, we can then dive deeper into the various areas. We can use the pride theory in two ways, if you like, as glasses or an umbrella for positive leadership. So we can have our development projects that we have in our own organization, and we can see where in the positive organizations theory, where do our projects fit into. Or we can start with the pride theory, we can start with the positive organization theory, and develop certain areas, certain projects through that theory. So both ways are absolutely possible. The first and really, I think that the best way to start looking into the pride theory is the emotional well-being, the letter E, which is about positive emotions and about the atmosphere at the workplace. So what is important, as I mentioned, is that the positive here is not some kind of a gimmick or a trick or some fad that you add on top of something. And if we look at the ideas of emotional well-being, I think we can really easily see from our everyday experience how important that part is in our everyday life. We know that from, once again, from research, how the experiencing of positive feelings enables us to activate in many areas, and it has been proven, for instance, by Barbara Fredrickson through her broaden and build theory, how many areas in our brain are activated through the feeling of positive emotions, and that supports our action in many ways, and also has long-term effects, for instance on resilience, which is once again an extremely important capacity of human beings for coping with change, coping with challenging situations, coping with stress and things like that. Another very important and once again kind of self-evident area is the communication and cooperation. We put it here under relationship enactment. So we know that interaction and cooperation are somehow very mundane, very everyday things at our workplace. Sometimes almost too self-evident. We think like, yeah, well, we meet people every day and so on and so forth. But however, in the positive organizations idea and theory, we want to focus a bit closer onto that, and onto, for instance, the everyday encounters that we have at workplace. And of course, this is once again in the situation of pandemic and in the situation of distance work, be it because of pandemic or otherwise, once again a very important area as well. How do we foster positive interaction, positive cooperation in a situation where people can't meet face to face, a particular challenge? And our question here is, of course, how can we enable positive interaction? This is about organizing the option for interaction for different kinds of people. Once again, bearing in mind we're all different types of people. We have different types of needs, different styles of interaction, and so on and so forth. How do we take that into account, and how do we foster positive interaction? Once again, the research shows that fostering positive interaction has a lot of positive effects. For instance, on things like customer satisfaction, which is of course extremely important in most of our modern organizations. Individual attributes and what we call in the Pride theory strengths, and this is another fascinating area connected to self-esteem, your idea of yourself, and your positive psychological capital, which is once again one of the terms from positive psychology. The strengths, your individual's strengths, are related also to your self-realization, your possibility for self-realization at work. And it is very, very alarming that in many countries, a lot of people say that they cannot use their strengths at their work. And they should be quite alarming, especially in the context where companies and organizations are looking to improve, let's say, their results. Improve their turnover even, or their win margin, or whatever. It is alarming if in that situation people say that they can't use their strengths, that the workplace does not recognize their strengths. They have no option of using their strengths. Certainly we should do something about that, and engage in work which enables people to use their strengths better. And this is what this the letter I here is related to. It is also been proven in research that people who are able to use their strengths at work are thriving up to 18 times more in their work than people who can't do that. Finally, the positive practices, and this is also one of my favorite in the Pride theory: the routine, the structures, and the processes, the everyday things at work. We have in many of our organizations, we have a lot of good practices already. And then we might have practices that need to be developed. And by practices, we really mean a number of things, small things and big things, if you like. They can be certain meeting routines. They can be certain principles that everybody adheres to or does not adhere to, even though we have decided it, which is, of course, an area for development in that case. And positive practices are very often also an area where we can start and focusing our development work on. But the practices are very, very interesting, because the practices are, in a way, they're physical manifestations of a culture. That's something that we sort of see and notice, and they're more tangible. But they are based on, if you like, on values and norms, and the idea of humans. Once again, they also reveal what is the value basis of our organization, of our workers, of ourselves as well, of course, and what is our idea of humans behind that. And this is an important picture in relation to the values, the underlying things, and then the concrete manifestations through practices of those values in our workplace. But I think at this point we can talk about these things more when we meet. And one more very important thing here is that the Pride theory and the positive organization idea is not like a box, like a trick box. It does not offer you ready-made solutions. It never happens so that our trainers would come over and say, like, okay, here's the things to do, and now you've got a positive organization. It is really based on working together, and for the organization to find the good that's there already, and then find how to improve things further. I hope this was helpful, and hope to see you soon again.